world. Welcome back to my channel. If you've never been here before, boop, I'm Fat Sajak. I'll be here the whole time. I cleaned up the pile of laundry on my bed, just in case you have been here before. You get it, unless you missed that video. Today we are being graced by the people that are mowing the lawn outside, as well as Gabbie Hanna. Both sounds can be equally annoying, but we'll see how it goes. This is part 2 of a 2-part series. It's not even really a series. I just couldn't handle doing the whole thing in one go, or I think my brain would fall out. And I'm not exactly sure which orifice my brain would fall out of, and I'm not really willing to take that chance and find out. So here's part 2. Part 1 was Gabbie being interviewed at Oxford Union for some reason. No one's quite figured out what the reason is yet, but we hope to have answers soon. The biopsies thus far have been inconclusive. Anyway, this is part 2, which is the Q&A, I'm guessing, from the audience. Again, I still haven't watched this half because that first half was plenty for me. Even a lot of you were like, Sajak, I love you, by the way, thank you, but I can't sit through this. And I'm like, cool, dude, I get it, 100%. Like, I had a hard time sitting through it as well. But I love you more, and to prove it, I'm gonna sit through it. This one's really, I found this Rogue One at Target, and there were no others like it. There were no other cases of it. And it's Strawberry Sunset Bubbly. Strawberry, kiwi, and pineapple. Tasty. Also, in the last video, in case you missed it, you should probably go back and watch it, unless you can't sit through it, unless you just can't sit through it. Which, like, I get it, I do, but like, grow up. Before we get started, just a quick note, down in the description below is, of course, many ways that you can help families in Palestine get out of Gaza, get medical attention, get supplies, food, things that they need. They are vetted by Operation Olive Branch. I know some people were expressing concerns that their money would be going somewher else, but the reality is that only the ones shared by Operation Olive Branch they have been vetted. These people are working tirelessly. Excuse me. These people are working tirelessly to make sure that they are vetting these GoFundMes. So your money is going directly to these families, to these people in Palestine that need your help. Or just help in general. I don't want to be Sally Struthers at you right now, because I know, like I said last time, I know times are hard, money is tight. Simply sharing, spreading the word, getting in contact with the Pass the Hat movement, I guess we could call it. I was going to say program, but that didn't feel right. Getting in touch there, filling out that Google Doc, basically taking a family in Gaza and giving them sort of the spotlight and spreading the word about the things that they need, so each family can kind of gain more traction with everybody who continues to help out. So, I mean, even if you can't help monetarily, that's a wonderful way to help. All of that is in the description below. I am still taking suggestions and additions that I can add to this list. Feel free to email them to me. The email's in the description with a clickable link. It's also this. It's also this right here. Don't send me anything weird, okay? All of that is in the description below, as well as the usual stuff, where to find me on social media, Patreon, channel memberships, blabbity, 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 blabbity. Let's get into this, because this is it's gonna suck out my soul. Oh yeah, and don't forget to like and subscribe and all that shit too.
Yeah, if anyone wants to raise their hand and ask a question, please do. Yeah, everyone's nervous now. Yeah, go on.
Hi Gabbie. Thank you so much for speaking. It was so nice to have so much to say about internet culture, and it really just it was really just great to
First of all, love the transcripts. Very helpful. Inaudible, 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 inaudible. Sponsored by Audible. Sponsored by Inaudible. What is the recipe, Gabby? Is it make people worried about you? Is it scare them by screaming at them? Come on, what is it? What's the recipe? I want to Julia Child this shit up.
Well, I don't want to pretend to be an expert in something I'm not an expert in. And to be honest, I feel like the only advice I could give you would be regurgitated from everybody else, because I'm not trying to be internet famous today. And it's not the same situation as when I did.
Yeah, right. Like, that's literally what she just said. Even with all the inaudibles, that's literally what she just said. What do you think the difference is between trying to get internet famous today and how it was back in the Vine days? Like, that was the question, dude.
But I think what I would like ask if somebody genuinely came up to me and asked me that would be,
did this girl not just genuinely ask you that? Is it me? Am I crazy?
are you sure you'd like to do that, and why? Because you have to like make that decision. Like, do you
the crowd. Oh god. Oh god. There's like less than 15 people in that little section. They all look so bored. That guy's wearing a tux. Like, I know this is like it's typically like a pretty, like, it's a fairly prestigious thing, is it not? And you got Miss Oxford sweatshirt and bandana headband up there. Going, dude, I don't what were you talking about? Oh, the juxtaposition is just delicious.
actually see what this is, or does it look like one of those glamorous jobs where you're like, that'd be so great, it's like do this and this? Because to be an influencer now, like, I don't even know what people are charging. Like, when I see a TikTok ad and somebody, like, is it worth it? Because like, do you know what I mean? Like, find out that and then be like, okay, what's my niche? And then be like, what is something that is unique about me? As a creator, what I would say to you, like, you're not trying to be famous, you're just trying to like learn how to use this medium to express yourself. I would say just post what feels good, but like wait on it. So like make a draft, wait a couple days and go back and be like, oh, do I like this? And then work on it a little bit, edit it a little bit, take your time. Don't be afraid to post something that you might not think is like worthy. See what people's responses are, but at the end of the day, do what you're gonna have fun doing.
This wasn't the question, by the way. The question was, what is the difference, or the recipe, rather, that would make someone, not necessarily the person who asked the question, she's not saying, how do I get internet famous? She said, what's the recipe for getting internet famous now versus in the Vine days? Like, Gabby.
Because you don't want to, there's no point in doing this job unless the purpose at the end is to have fun every day. So if you're like looking at formulas and being like, how can I crack this system? And it's gonna drive you crazy trying to figure out like fonts or colors or times or whatever, it's not worth it. Maybe, you know what I mean? So yeah, just do what makes you feel happy and pay attention to what's happening in response.
That was a great answer to a question that was not asked. Why is she there?
Just on that question as well, like, do you feel like the culture for people now is getting better online or worse? Like, in terms of, I don't know.
I don't know. It seems like there's no rhyme or reason, because sometimes I'll see these like literal like mobs of people like, yes, we love this murderer because his mugshot is so hot. You know what I mean? Like, you can't even like judge based on who the people are there, because there's like the internet used to be a subculture of a subculture where it wasn't that big and like people were kind of on the same page, but now there's so many different like niches where if you like go down this like weird hole of TikTok, like there's millions of people there.
Yeah, they were always there. It just wasn't as accessible as it used to be. But do you think the culture's getting better or worse?
Number 1, number 2.
About the same. Number 1 might be a tiny bit better.
But yeah, I don't know. Like, it might not be the best like mainstream.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so.
She's so over this. That poor woman. She's so done. She's like, yeah, that's great. I wasn't really listening because you haven't answered anything I've asked. Anyway, Like, she's so over this shit, and I don't blame her. I would be absolutely over it too. Like, I
think people are more willing to or more looking to read into things negatively is something I would say. Like something that can be quite innocent. Sometimes people are almost trying to find a way to, I don't know. That might be a cynical
People are
take
just
from
bored,
me.
dude. Like you just gotta, like once you recognize like, oh, these people are just like really bored.
No, I don't think it's necessarily always that people are bored. I think it's also that people have opinions, and the internet has given us permission to express those opinions, whether they are warranted or not warranted. So I think it's just that people have become less filtered over time because of the freedom of the internet. Is probably how you should have answered that question better.
Because that's really what it is, I guess.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, I think being away for a year and like kind of consuming, like being more of a consumer than a creator, I'm like, oh, I don't need to take this personally.
Oh, that's so weird, because you came back with a video that said you were off the internet for a year.
These people are just bored.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's have another question.
She's like, could we get the fuck out of here? I've had absolutely enough of this bitch.
Hi Gabbie, congratulations on releasing your new song. I was just wondering, is there an artist that you'd like to collaborate with, and who would that be?
Oh my god, is it Bo Burnham? Is it Amy Grant? Is it DC Talk? Is it Imagine Dragons? Is it Jesus himself? Is it Shel Silverstein? Tell us, Gabbie.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a lot of artists I'd like to collaborate with. Definitely Matt Mason. That'd be sick. Imagine Dragons, which I just found out.
Oh my god, I am so incredibly funny. I could just stop the video here. I win.
Recently is like a meme where people just like hate on him. I see some of you smirking.
Oh.
Imagine Dragons is sick. I'm gonna take this moment to hype up Imagine Dragons. They're like my generation's.
I like them.
My generation's Nickelback. Like that's what you guys feel about Imagine Dragons. They're so good. Sonically, so unique, cohesive, incredible mastering, incredible storytelling.
And they're religious. Yeah, go on. Oh, the fact that I predicted Imagine Dragons. Oh, that was delicious. I don't know if you're out there and you're like, I don't believe this bitch did not watch this beforehand. I swear on the Holy Bible, I did not. Sydney Prescott, what the fuck? I swear on the Holy Bible, both hands on the Holy Bible, I did not watch this beforehand. Either I'm just that good or she's just that predictable. Either way, that's funny.
Recognizable voice. They keep it clean, they keep it cute, they keep it relatable. I stand Imagine Dragons. I'd love to collab with Imagine Dragons. Matt Mason. I just became obsessed with Benson Boone, but I can't say enough about him to say if I want to collab yet. He's great. Who else? Panic. Oh, they retired.
Yeah.
I think in this video, I'm just living for the interviewer and being like, yeah, that's great, Gabbie.
Yeah.
They might have been cancelled. I can't remember. Have I made that up?
You know what?
Is that right?
I don't judge.
No.
I don't judge.
What about the last video when you called Rachel Oates a loser? Was that not judgment? Shut up.
It's okay. You like their music. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
good question.
There's a lot of people.
Fun
I want to
question.
post like a playlist somewhere because honestly, my playlists are impeccable. So keep an eye out because I want to just like share all of the best songs. They're the best songs in the world.
Yeah, if you
like
send me the playlist or
objectively too. Yeah.
put it on.
Yeah, because your taste in music being good is actually something that can definitely be an objective statement. Absolutely. Imagine going to Oxford Union and being like, dude, I'm gonna make a playlist, and you're, oh my god, keep an eye out for my playlist, okay? You guys have Spotify here? Okay, great. Could you guys keep an eye out for my playlist? Because it's impeccable. Say something intelligent.
Very interesting talk. So as someone big on the internet, how do you feel about how that naturally leads to hundreds of thousands or millions of people having a very intense one-way relationship with you? I don't think that's healthy, but perhaps in comparison to like television or other.
Yeah, I think you're asking about like parasocial relationships.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting because it is more or less like if you're, primarily first you were a singer or an actress or whatever, and people are naturally like kind of obsessed with your life that you don't really know. With the internet, it's super weird because for the most part, like logically, everybody starts off as a small person, and then even if your growth is quick, you still started off just engaging with your friends, a couple random followers. So it's like normal and natural for like a human being to be like, oh, let me like build a relationship with this person online because I'm only talking to a few of you. But then when you like get bigger and bigger, and all of a sudden you're having these like parasocial relationships that are more than that, with they're still fans to you who you like know a little bit more about, but to them they're like close with this person who wasn't really a celebrity when they started talking to them but became a celebrity over time. So that can get kind of tricky.
Here's the thing about parasocial relationships in general, and this one's to my fellow creators. Don't. It's really that easy. The thing with me, like, I'm not a big creator by any stretch. 26K does not a big creator make. However, I have never been in the business of getting close to people in real life. Okay, that's my hang up, that's me.
Nobody loves me.
I've just never been someone who's like, I want to talk to you intimately about things in my life, and I want to hear intimately, I want to listen intimately about things in your life. Like, yes, obviously with my friends and close family and things like that, but like, I'm not on the internet looking for people to do that with. Like, I adore the people that follow me, the people that watch you, right? You're watching this. I like you for being here, for having similar sensibilities, similar senses of humor. I do engage with people sometimes, but I don't think, and I don't want anyone to take this personally, but I would never really engage with someone I didn't take the time to know in a way that would lead that person to feel like they are my friend while I felt like they were my fan or follower or whatever. Because you can feel that power dynamic, right? The way she's describing it is like, you're so oblivious to the fact that they feel like your friend when you feel like they're your fan. I don't think that that's true. Because if you have enough healthy boundaries, then you're putting those boundaries between you and the personal side of that relationship, right? That's not to say that sometimes people don't send me incredibly personal stories that I will read and I will often reply to and respond to and engage with, but it doesn't go any farther than the subject matter. It seems like a lot of OG YouTube had a problem with is that they had no idea how to set those boundaries ever. You know, you see it with like Colleen Ballinger, same thing. She had no idea, and I don't mean this in like, well, she had no idea. I mean like, she was not making setting boundaries a priority between herself and children. And I think that's where it gets tricky, is because if you as an adult or the person with the power in the dynamic is not setting those boundaries, no one's going to. Because if you're engaging with a fan in any capacity, whether you're a big creator, a small creator, whether you're just someone who posts a lot of shit on the internet that gets traction, whether you're somebody who's just like locally kind of known, whatever. If you hold the power in the dynamic, it's your responsibility to make sure that you are setting the appropriate boundaries, because it is not on the other person to do so, no matter what, in my opinion. So those are my thoughts. I just think this video, I'm just going to give you the more eloquent thoughts that someone who's speaking at Oxford Union should be giving you.
In the beginning, I guess, is like, they're like, oh, engage with your audience, like whatever, but then also like not too much, you know, it's a delicate thing. Yeah,
sure. Absolutely. Like, you'll find me when I post a video, when I post this video, I'm in my comments for like the first 3 days intensely. Like, I try to respond to as many as I can before I get distracted. I read them all. I'm always in there. I am always replying. I am always commenting. I love that part of the engagement. But there's a difference between engaging with your audience in a public forum and engaging with your audience in private. And The latter is where you start to muddy the waters between friend and fan. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, everybody? Sydney!
Yeah.
Let's go just right behind you, Devin and Brown.
I really enjoy these like really like awkward pauses after Gabbie like half answers a question.
Do you feel that at some point you're going to disassociate from the person that exists online?
Mm-hmm.
Almost maybe as a coping mechanism so that when someone's being mean on the internet, they're being mean to the person online.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have an impact on you in real life?
Yeah, I think probably less now. Like, I'm just now coming back, so these are things that I've like tried to sort of iron out and being like, do I want to come back? Like, what does that look like? The thing is, like with people, is they're different people all the time. So I'm like a naturally more like reserved, introverted person, but the person that most people are used to seeing are the person that I'm talking to myself in a room with a camera. So like that's when you're gonna see me the most like bold and confident, energetic and talkative, where in real life I actually will like fall back and like kind of observe a bit more in like settings. So yeah, there is sort of a pressure when people come up and meet me and they're so excited, which is great. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, like this is surreal. Like this person, like what? And then you want to like match their energy, but you are also just like kind of a like chiller person. Because then people like, you don't want to leave somebody with a bad experience. Like somebody's excited to meet you. You want to like be equally excited.
I don't know how I feel about this answer. Be yourself. Like she can't like be yourself. I don't get it. I don't get why we have to like put on airs for everything. I get it to some extent that you don't want to be like a bitch, but like I feel like you could just be yourself. I don't think, I mean, aside from like kids who fucking shouldn't be watching Gabbie Hanna anyway, but aside from like little kids, I don't feel like adults necessarily always feel like you are the switched on version of yourself all the time. Because like if you met me in person, you'd be like, oh, you're kind of the same, only like a little quieter. Like that's it. Like, yeah, when you put a camera in a room and talk only to the camera with no one else here, yeah, you're louder, you're more animated, your eyes don't focus on the same thing at the same time. You're made up, or your hair is done, or your room looks a certain way, or you know what I mean? Like your setup looks a certain way. You know, it's not like, you think my bed is made all the time? Like, this is a good analogy. Follow me. You think my bed is fucking made all the time? Absolutely the fuck not. I don't make this bed ever. It is a pile of linen that I crash into at the end of the night. Like, that's my bed. There's no, there's nothing except, well, not nothing exciting going on in there, but like there's nothing exciting happening right here, right now. Does it look like this every day? No. Some days it's got giant piles of laundry on it. Some days it's got a bunch of work on it. Some days it's just a bunch of stuff I need to put away. Some days it's naked because the shit's getting washed. Like, you're never going to be the same person in person that you are on the internet. You know, you can be an authentic person on the internet. Like, I feel like I'm a very authentic creator in that I'm not going to pretend that I'm someone I'm not. I'm not going to, obviously me here is a heightened version of me here in this room, right? Like I said, a little louder, a little more obnoxious sometimes, a little cuntier than it would be in person, but I'm still very much me right here. Okay, like this is still very much who I am as a human being. It's just that me as a human, I'm a little more subdued. I'm a little quieter. But when Fat Sajak is in the room, she's a little louder. She's a little more brash. She's a little more obnoxious. She's definitely cuntier. She curled her hair. It's I don't think that if I met one of you in person, I wouldn't feel the need to turn on my obnoxious persona. I would just be me because I'm a human person, and I'm allowed to be a human person because I'm a human. This is who I am. I just feel like Gabbie never has known who she is as a human being, and everything she says, even when she answers these questions, supports that. Literally. it supports that theory, because she's always talking about she's making music and she's changing her clothes and she's changing her attitude and she's changing her whole vibe, or she's meeting people in person and she's matching their energy because she doesn't want them to essentially encounter the real Gabbie and give them a shitty experience. Like, I just feel like there's so much to be said for how little she knows herself as a human being.
But yeah, it's weird. And also the space of like that state of like arrested development where somebody's like, well, this is the person I like, and I know it's been 6 years, but like if you start acting too different, then like I'm gonna notice. And even before like being online, like being in junior high, like people would come into school in the morning and they'd be like, what's wrong? And I'm like, oh, nothing. Like I'm just like, everything's great. Like, dude, I'm tired.
Is this normal? Like, is anybody like this? Like, I get sometimes like putting on airs, like when someone's like, oh, how are you? And you're like, I'm fine, even though like your whole fucking world's falling apart. But like, to this extent where like you've lived your whole life like never being honest about anything about yourself. Woof.
Did that answer your question? Okay, cool.
If I had the energy, I'd make a Did I Answer Your Question compilation, but I just do not. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's great though. I just want everyone to know, like, it's great. It's cool.
What is? I'm not trying to be a bitch. Sincerely, what is?
Gabbie, it was with affiliation of the Party Service. Thank you so much for that. Just one thing of celebrities, like given the number of eyeballs that the platforms have gone up, do you have like a responsibility to talk about like all the political abuse / current affairs? Do you think it's a responsibility they should take upon themselves, or is it?
Could you repeat that?
She's saying, do you think that if you've got a platform, you've got responsibility to talk about things like politics or international affairs or whatever?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it. Because I know I wasn't the first person to speak up about Palestine, and I don't want to give people a bunch of shit for not speaking up because, whatever, everybody has their reasons, everybody has their things. But Gabbie has spent a number of years talking about how she is a proud Middle Eastern woman. And you'd think a proud Middle Eastern woman might say something about the slaughter of innocent Middle Eastern women and children. But anyway, let's have Gabbie's answer. Again, it's not, like I said, I know it took me a minute to be like, hey bitches, here's this, but like, platform of millions, 26K. Just saying.
I actually can't believe I'm gonna say this, but like, yes, but in a way that feels natural to you. So I'm not gonna talk about every single thing if it doesn't, like, people are like, why aren't you talking about this? And I'm like, first of all, you don't want me to talk about that because my opinion doesn't match yours. You're making a lot of assumptions right now about me. But
I like how she always assigns like a preconceived opinion to why someone would ask, why aren't you talking about this? Instead of simply sitting and reflecting on why you're not talking about this. Because the reason you're not talking about something isn't because someone else's opinion is different, because that makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense.
But if it's important to me, like, that's one of the main reasons I felt like I can't just disappear. Because if there's people who are willing to listen, if it's 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, whatever, if I feel like I have something important to say, which I do, if I feel like my opinion should be heard, which I do, then it is my responsibility to use it.
Okay. One, I don't disagree with the point that she was initially making, which is if it's something that feels natural to speak about, yes, I get that to a certain degree. But everything she just said enough, okay? If it's something I care about, if I have an opinion, which I do, if my opinion matters, which it does, then I'll talk about it. It's not about you. It's not about you. Caring enough to use your platform for something, to speak on it, to even, not even necessarily to crowdfund or to accomplish a goal, but simply to raise awareness or speak about something that maybe you just learned, or maybe you started hearing other people talk about, so you looked into for yourself. Something that something that has come across your immediate plate for you to say, hey, I want to talk about this thing. And then to say something like, well, I have to care about it. It has to affect me. It has to be something I already have an opinion about. It has to be, you know, my opinion matters on this subject, blah, 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 blah. That feels so short-sighted and so tone-deaf. Because there's certainly places where, like, certainly white people's voices are not wanted or needed at all. Where white people are loud and obnoxious. That I get. But saying, like, it has to affect me. I have to care about it. I have to have an opinion about it already. And it says so much about why you whip out things like the charity work you do out of your back pocket when someone's like, well, you know, why aren't you charitable enough? You know, it's like, everything is like a receipt to Gabbie. Everything is, look, I did this thing. Look, I have the receipts for it here. It's bleh, ugh, yuck.
That being said, if you're like, you know, a pop star, you just want to be an entertainer, like this is your job. No, that person probably doesn't need to. Like, I think it should, for me, that's it. For me personally, yes. For everybody, no. If somebody doesn't feel passionately called to, they should shut their mouth, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Not everybody needs to express their opinion on everything. Not everybody needs to be the voice of every cause, for sure. But if there's situations like what's the fucking genocide happening in Palestine, and you can see it and it's on your timeline every fucking day when you open up any one of your apps, and you can see the atrocities that are being committed against innocent people, and like, you can't find it in you to care enough to say something. I don't know, man. It's a slippery slope, because I do agree. Like, I don't want to hear from Harrison Buttfucker or whatever the fuck his name is about women's place being in the kitchen or whatever the shit he's got going on. We're going to come back to him later. Don't even fucking worry about it. We're going to roast the fuck out of that fucking hipster ass beard piece of shit. No, nobody needs your opinion. And not because I disagree with it, but because nobody asked.
Hey, mediocre looking guy that kicks a ball. Do you, have any thoughts about, I don't know, what women should be doing? Like all of them? Like all these ones graduating? You got any opinions on?
Nobody fucking asked. Let's move on, because I'm stressed.
If you don't know what you're saying, shut your mouth.
Yeah. Back at you.
I was just wondering what you think your future career will look like, what's next for you?
We'll see, because
Wow, look at that wide shot. How'd they fit all those people in there?
I'm in a pretty like happy spot right now where I've been able to take a year to sort of figure out what that looks like. And for me, I think it's going to be a lot more like visual art and like design and like authoring more so than like influencing. And I'll always have music coming out. I'll always be doing all of the things that I enjoy doing at whatever pace. But yeah, I'd rather focus like more like sort of locally and community based, and the internet is, you know, the maximization of globalization, right? So anything's possible. So if the things that I'm doing proliferate throughout, that's cool. If the things that I'm doing stay a little bit more local, whether that's my actual like physical geographical space or however far I reach, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. And yeah, I'm happy for whoever's there, and I don't know, I'm just like comfy.
Cool. So you don't know? That would have been a fine answer.
That's exactly. Yeah. Like, I don't have a plan or expectation at this point. It's just like, yeah, we'll see.
See where it goes. Come to Oxford, you know? See.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
It's like watching The Delicious Dish on National Public Radio.
Neat.
Yeah, it's fun.
Fun. Like good times. Good times.
I'm just wondering, who are some of your kind of favorite visual artists, and yeah, who's kind of inspired you to kind of start to lean more into your visual creative journey?
Totally. Okay, I'm gonna sound so basic right now, but please don't judge me, I swear I'm sincere. So my first favorite artist was actually Banksy. And like when I first started painting, like in college, I was like recreating Banksy paintings on like cardboard and stuff. So I've always loved him. I lived in London when I was 19 for like 4 months, and I just like made it a point to like go and like find as many as I could. I think I was actually here whenever Robbo and Banksy were battling under that bridge. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? They like kept painting over, do you know? Yeah, they kept painting over each other's work. So yeah, I love Banksy because he showed me what it is to make a political message in his art, which I thought was really cool.
I hope somebody bought this interview or drink after this.
And I also think it's really cool that he's not doing it for fame. Like, he's completely hidden. I think there's like a lot, and he's incredibly talented. Like, his stuff is really cool and visually stimulating to look at. And then I actually have always been really inspired by Picasso. Again, I know it's like so basic, but I swear it's sincere. When I was in 5th grade studying Cubism, and we were talking about Picasso, and I really fell in love with like monochromatic things and Cubism. And I like Van Gogh because of his story of just like never selling a painting his entire life and just being like, just super bipolar and like mentally ill, and you're just like, I just want to like paint and talk to my brother, and like I relate. So yeah.
Hi Gabbie, thanks for coming. You talked about hate and who that comes from, and I guess my question is, where do you draw the line between, or discern between constructive criticism and hate and who that comes from?
Ooh, what a question. I'm all ears.
Well, first of all, who are you? Like, that's my first thing always. It's just like, why are you critiquing me? Like, you don't have any accolades or skills or desirable traits in which I would want to consume your criticism. Like, it doesn't make sense.
First of all, you're still bitter. We're still talking about Rachel Oates. Because how do you know what every critic has accolades in or qualifications for? Again, a referee for the NBA doesn't need to be a player in the NBA to know the rules, regulations, and how the game is played. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, the difference between a criticism and hate would be me saying, wow, this poetry is incredibly immature. The themes are all very similar. A lot of it doesn't make sense, and it doesn't quite follow the formats of traditional or even non-traditional poetry. Just because I don't have a poetry book doesn't mean that I can't know that or express that. Let's keep going, because I feel like there's yelling in my future.
That's my first thing. So that's like hate. Like, if you're coming from a place of like, I read a poem once. Like, you know what I mean? You don't know what you're talking about. Shut up. You know?
No, I disagree. I disagree. Because, like, I've never built a car. But, like, I've seen a PT Cruiser, you know? And I can look at a PT Cruiser and go, that's a fucking ugly car. Even though I've never built one. It doesn't mean I'm hating on it. I'm not graffitiing the car to look differently. I didn't smash it up to change its entire body. My criticism of the PT Cruiser is that it's ugly, and I don't have to have built a car for that to be a valid criticism.
You know what I mean? So that's my one. Like, you're just a hater. Like, you're jealous. Like, whatever. But then,
honey, listen to me. Listen to me. This is one of my favorite arguments for criticism. You're jealous. Not in a million years. Not in a million years. No. As a longtime Gabbie Hanna critic, I can tell you firsthand, there is not a fucking thing about her or her life that I'm jealous of. Not one. Not a thing. Absolutely not. Nope. No, I don't even like myself, and I'd rather be me.
And the other one is just like, are you being genuinely constructive or are you being mean? Because a constructive criticism never comes with an insult. It never comes with a jab. It doesn't come with like bullying or belittling or trying to be like a funny mean girl. Like, that's not constructive.
Actually, it is constructive, because even if the delivery is funny mean girl, hey, how you doing? It can still be a worthwhile criticism. I've had a lot of constructive criticism for Gabbie over the years. Have I delivered it like a funny mean girl? Sure, because that's the nature of what I do here. It doesn't change the criticism. It doesn't change what my criticism of the content is. It just hands it to my audience in a way that it feels palatable for them. The reality is that Gabbie has spent the better part of at least the last 5 years, taking what is actually constructive criticism and leave me out of it. Let's, again, Rachel Oates, okay? Because I know this is the one that really just fucking sticks in her craw. Is that a sentence? Is that a word? Is that a phrase? Is that something? It's the one that bothers her. I know that's the one that bothers her. We all know that's the one that bothers her. The reality is, there was nothing about any of the videos that Rachel Oates made about Gabbie Hanna that was not constructive criticism. There were even compliments in there. Just the way Gabbie likes it. Compliment sandwich. So you can actually give constructive criticism in a nice way with examples of how to make it better, with compliments on what you've done correctly. And Gabbie will still say that you're just a jealous, mean girl.
Constructive means I'm trying to build you up. It's construction. You're building somebody. If you're tearing somebody down, that's destructive criticism.
Yeah. Okay. Good job. Merriam-Webster is not lost on you. But here's the thing, though, okay? Criticism actually doesn't always have to be constructive, and it can still be valid. Art receives criticism. I always use him as an example, but Roger Ebert was one of the meanest critiques when he hated a film or a performance. He didn't hold back at all. And he was one of the most highest regarded film reviewers in history. No one has to be nice to you in order for criticism to be valid or constructive.
So that's my line, is like, if you're genuinely being, first of all, well-informed, like that's where I come back to, like, shut your mouth if you don't know what you're talking about. Like, not everybody is a critic, but everybody's a critic, right? Yeah, like, are you qualified to make this criticism?
I'm sorry, but pretty much anyone is qualified to make criticism about art, because art is for the masses. Art is not for the elite, the educated. Art is not for people with degrees or higher education. Art is for everybody. And if you're not critiquing the art you're consuming, then you are mindlessly consuming. Your mindless consumption is why we are a brain-dead society. Now, I'm not saying everybody deserves to get on the internet and be a huge bitch to everybody because, oh my God, they dared to create something. But it also doesn't mean that when people get online and say, this was bad and here's why, that doesn't mean that's invalid because it hurts your feelings. And it doesn't mean they're not qualified to give it because they haven't also done it. And honestly, taking your opinions from people who do different things from you and people of different lines of work, of different backgrounds, different education, of different social status, that's probably the most valuable criticism you will receive as an artist. And you should take it. Even if you don't actually internalize it and you don't put it forward in your future works, you should still hear it. I'm not saying you expose yourself to someone calling you a bitch or ugly or, God, you're so fucking stupid. But when people say things like, this was objectively bad and here's why, listen. Hear what they say. Try to see what they see. And even if at the end of the day you don't agree, at least you took that in. At least you had the humility to take in a criticism and reflect and say, oh, okay, well, I see what they're saying. Or, nah, I don't really see any validity to that, but thank you for your comment. Like,
and is it coming from a place of kindness and genuinely wanting to see this person succeed? Or is it fun for you to tear this person down?
Again, that's not what criticism does not know kindness. If you're criticizing your grandmother on her deathbed because her hair looks like shit, with kindness, absolutely. If you wrote a book publicly published for public scrutiny, sorry, babe, maybe this industry isn't for you.
And usually you can tell when you watch something.
Yeah. And then, do you still have a question? Yeah, you can just pause it, that's fine.
Hi. I was just wondering, do you think it's a big problem for people either who have a lot of internet fame or trying to get internet fame to become addicted to the attention and money and all that kind of thing?
And did you find that it was quite easy to fall into that, or did you have coping mechanisms to save the cash?
My video that went live an hour ago was actually about social media addiction and how I believe it's going to be like the forefront of conversation soon, and there's going to be real diagnosis, real treatment, because it is a serious addiction and it does affect your life in a lot of ways. It affects your relationships, it can affect your job, it can reflect your social situation. Like there's so many things that social media can affect if you're consuming too much, you're creating too much, like it's for real a sickness.
Yeah, again, with the boundaries. I'm not saying that that's invalid. I'm not saying that there's not a whole group of people who don't understand how to live without social media, because sure, absolutely there are. I personally, this is my theory, my hypothesis, if you will, I feel like Gen Alpha and maybe the younger Gen Z are probably going to be the ones who are like, I don't want to fucking be on social media. I don't want to be. I think it's going to have like a 180. I think we're going to go back to being like, I don't want that. That's what I think. I think that's going to happen long before there's like diagnoses for internet addiction, because that's purely because it's not necessarily a substance. I mean, you can be addicted to things like sex. You can be addicted to shopping. You can be addicted to things like that. But those are all behavioral, usually, and often with a deep-seated need that your brain is trying to fill, like any addiction, right? So yeah, maybe outside of like talk therapy, I genuinely don't think that there's much that can be done. You can't really medicate someone out of a social media addiction. You know, there's no Narcan for, ODing on Twitter. You can't take Suboxone to kick fucking Instagram. It doesn't work like that. So yeah, okay, it might be a legit addiction, but we're gonna have to treat it with societal change, I think.
I was not protected from it. Like I definitely fell very much victim to it, and I'm glad that I did, because
otherwise how could you be the victim of this thing? We wouldn't know how to handle a situation if we weren't the victim.
I was able to be like, wow, I can like see a lot of stuff. That's what this past year has been, really, is like getting sober from an addiction. So I think it is really serious. I think probably the majority of millenniums, Gen Z, and Gen A probably like deal with it to some degree.
I don't know. I have the reflex of picking up my phone, but like I can take or leave social media a lot of the time. I deleted Twitter off my phone 2 weeks ago, and I've never been happier, to be honest. And I never thought I'd say that, because I hear all my friends say that they got rid of their Twitter. I mean, my Twitter's still there. I'll still check in on my laptop every once in a while. But like, that was my favorite platform ever. I loved it. Bonnie Hunt follows me on Twitter. That's my favorite thing in the world that has ever happened to me ever in my life. It doesn't say much about all the other things that go on. I have beautiful children. What? Anyway, like I share what I want when I want, and then I can put it down, and I'm okay with that. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, maybe I'm just like living in a bubble where everybody's on their phone all the time, but I think it's like pretty common to be on your phone all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're wrong in that aspect, Gabby, but I don't think everyone has the addiction aspect as seriously. Especially because the way she described it in that video was about numbers. It was about virality. It was about the attention. And I feel like that's more of a niche experience.
Yeah, I mean, I found it just being in this position in the union that I couldn't really, for the last kind of like couple of years, not have my phone because of like the job I was like doing, or needing to be in touch with certain people. And I'm leaving in a week, and I'm going to put my phone away for a bit, because I just do think it will be nice to not have to have it. Like not be on emails or that's obviously different to like your kind of like,
I didn't even update my data so I could use it here, because I was just like, the first day I was here I used like almost all my data that comes when you like land in the UK. It's like, you have like 5 gigs or whatever, because I had just come back and I'm like reading comments, and then it ran up and I was like, I'm not buying more data for this. Like I'm just gonna be off my phone. But it's nice too, because the first time I was doing all this, I was very much like, you have to post and then you do an Instagram, but this time, the next day, this time, you have to, like, it was so much like planning and like kind of strictness.
Remember in the last video when Gabby was like, I don't know how all this happened. It's not like I planned it.
Whereas now I'm, and I think it's partially because I'm here and I was kind of like forced into it. It's just like, you don't have to like get yourself in a cycle of you have to post these times and these days. So it's like my OCD pattern was broken before it could even like become a monster again.
Yes. OCD, she definitely has it.
Which I'm really grateful for.
It's actually, yeah, it's fine. I'm not gonna.
We say it.
No, I was just gonna say, like, it's quite sad though, because I think it's great that you're able to do that because you've like reached the platform, that you've got that now and you've got the career. But like for people who are starting out, like they have to, right? Because that's how you grow. Like they have to sort of post it sometimes. It's just, you know, I can see like why you would get trapped in that.
This poor nice British lady. I'll buy her a drink.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like, I don't know, it's weird because sometimes you'll see people who like aren't trying that hard blow up too, and at this point, I just kind of step back and be like, let go and let God. Like whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. So I think that's probably also why I don't feel so like stressed about it. It's just like, if God wants this to happen, it's gonna happen. If he doesn't, it's not. Like all I can do is like put in the work, put out what I think is, you know, something I should be putting out and like see what happens. But it takes the pressure off too, to just be like, this isn't really about me. Like this, who cares? Like who cares?
You care. You care deeply. I know, because when you put this song out that came out around this time, you wouldn't stop posting about it on Instagram. Every time I opened my Instagram, I forgot I was following Gabbie Hanna. And every fucking time I opened my Instagram, there she was. There she was. Same, stream my song. Stream my song. Hey, my song's out. Have you streamed it yet? You know, I think one thing I will say constructively, she's really obnoxious when it comes to self-promotion. It wasn't constructive, but it is true.
Right? Like we all die. Like I'll die. Everyone in this room will die. 100 years from now, like literally people might remember me, even family, like for maybe 100 years. Like I couldn't name you my great-great-great-grandma. I can't, you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter anymore. So I think that's the main thing I would want to like tell people too, if they're like, you know, looking into this, is just, why do you actually want this? And is it worth it? Because if the answer is just because I want to be rich or famous or I want to be recognized, the answer is probably like, redirect it and figure out if this is the best way for you to make an impact in your time here that doesn't involve you just wanting to be like famous and when you're dead.
I mean, that's really great advice, but like, could we turn that around on Gabbie? Like what purpose did you do this for? When you were twerking on Vine, was it about like the higher power and like the bigger message? Just curious. Also, sweet nihilism came into play there. You know, that everybody dies and nothing matters, which is actually really interesting because Christianity as a religion definitely condemns nihilism. So I'm gonna, or it's straight to hell with you, Missy.
Basically.
Let's have one or two more. So we'll go on the front here.
Thank you so much for the talk today. It's been absolutely wonderful. I think every sort of celebrity has their moment online where they're unfortunately susceptible to meme culture. You know, having gone through those moments, I think I do remember when I was younger, I watched your reactions to What's in Me. It was really cool to see how you became that. Now that you're older and, you know, going through all of those moments yourself, as well as seeing other recent ones like Toxic Gossip, for example, how have you reflected on that now? Like, what are your takeaways from all of those experiences?
That's a great question, Nigel. I would love to hear the answer.
Well, like playful memes, like when I was first, like the monster meme thing, I literally had tweeted like not that long before, like, I want to be a meme. So it's good. Like that's a really high performing song because of that. Like obviously there's like a little bit of embarrassment that comes from those things, but not really. You know what I mean? Because they don't matter that much. I think when it starts to feel more like malicious than playful, that's like a different situation. But I just like, I don't know, like I feel like when you're going through it, it feels different than when it's over, because like, to be honest, a lot of those things are like sort of iconic. You know what I mean? So
You know what I mean? You know, they're kind of iconic. Remember when I blew out the mic at Genius because I was scream singing? I was scream singing it. It's funny.
It's like, that's a part of it. Like, my sister sometimes will like quote me on accident, like, oh, I forgot that was you. Because it's so like in pop culture at this point.
Yep, Gabbie Hanna, ubiquitous with pop culture. I mean, aside from the monster meme, there haven't been really any funny ones, lighthearted ones, like she's talking about, you know? I just wish that she could be honest, because I can't imagine that many of those meme instances felt good, right? Like, I can empathize with that. I can look at that situation and go, that probably fucking sucked to go through. Especially the ones during her manic episode, you know, or, you know, when the ones of her screaming in the car. Right, I started drama, I just want attention. The Enough podcast.
I am the fucking victim.
Nothing about that was a positive time. Even just having been around as a third party, like, nothing about it was positive. Nothing about it was funny. It was all concerning. So, I mean, I don't know that I would call these things iconic or funny, but I guess it's good she's able to laugh at herself, because if you can't beat them, join them.
So it's fine, like it just depends how you respond to things, and sometimes it's been like really easy to just be like, haha, and sometimes it's been like really difficult. I think what's frustrating for me is when I feel like people aren't acknowledging that it's okay that I made a funny joke, instead of trying to make it like, wait, she's crazy and we're all laughing because it's funny. Like, the one that comes to mind is the acting different one. I don't know if you know that, where I was like, I don't want to hear I'm acting different, and it went like so viral because I was like, she's crazy, she's lost her mind.
That's because during that time you were losing your mind.
I don't want to hear I'm acting different.
I hate this gaslighting shit, to be honest, because it's like she spent that whole summer acting nuts, and on purpose in some instances, and not so much in others. She did a live where like someone knocked on her door and she like freaked out and ended the live, and like there were so many instances around that specific time that just were cause for concern.
Okay, so anyway, when the viewers hit 666 last time, I was getting a call from an unknown number. And then, okay, I mean, you guys just saw it. So when the viewers were at 666 last time, I got a call from an unknown caller ID, which I usually don't get. Usually it'll say scam likely or something. So that means a blocked number called me as my viewers hit 666. And then in my head, I was like, okay, it's just a coincidence. Calm down, chill, take a breath. I get a little bit panicky. And then just again, it hit 666 and I said it out loud, and and it's August 6th. Like, somebody on my doorstep. I'm dead serious.
LA City 911, operator 930.
I'm sorry, one second. Hold on, I have to end a live stream because I'm about to give my address. There's somebody on my porch. I don't want to hear I'm acting different.
Like, that's funny. I agree that that's funny. But it also came around this time where Gabbie was constantly high, and she was constantly making concerning statements and concerning decisions, and she was up all night fucking on lives, painting and repainting, and oh my god, it was just, there's just so much negativity around that time that of course people thought, you know, it's like when you're a kid, when you're little, you're really little, and you say something and everybody's like, oh my God, what's the matter? Like, why are you so upset? And you're like, well, it was a joke. It's like, we didn't have context for that joke. No one was able to infer context that that was a joke because it went along with all the other things you were saying that weren't jokes, that were a little concerning, that were looking like you were endangering yourself. It all blends together. We're not at your fucking house seeing you set up a joke, seeing you go, okay, wait, this one's gonna be funny. We can't see that part of it. So as the audience, you have to infer that we cannot infer that you're making a joke when you're also being crazy the rest of the time. My voice hurts.
And like everybody's laughing because it's funny, but they can't just be like, oh, Gabby's funny and she made a funny video. They have to be like, wait, she's crazy and we're all laughing at her mental breakdown. And I'm like, or like I'm funny. Like I make creative, like interesting content and like you're laughing, you're sharing it, but they can't like give me the like, I guess credit of just like, I guess like being more intelligent than they give me credit for, where it's like, she can't possibly be funny enough to do this.
Also, again, we're not there for the context. So when it's concerning post, concerning post, concerning post, concerning post, joke, concerning post, concerning post, concerning post, why didn't anybody find my joke funny post? Concerning post, concerning post. How are we supposed to decipher which ones are the lighthearted funny ones and which ones are the ones that everybody should take seriously? Because being upset that people don't find you funny, instead of being grateful that people were concerned enough about you to actually care and to check to see if this was your mental health or a joke. Like, your joke's not going to land in the middle of a mental breakdown. I'm sorry. It's just not. And it's not that there's anything wrong with having a mental breakdown. It happens. So in the same regard, why can't people just be honest that I'm funny and that I made a funny joke? Why can't you be honest that you were struggling with your mental health and maybe that clouded people's judgment of the jokes you were making? Honesty goes a long way on both ends.
I think it's more dramatic that way, isn't it? Like, oh, she didn't, like it's a big drama, she didn't mean to do it or whatever. Then it's
but at the end of the day, I'm a performance artist. Like my stage, my platform is social media. I'm doing things that I know will get attention for a purpose. Help me, help us. There's babies dying on the street.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of talking about how trans people are just confused and you're the second coming of Christ, while you're in some badly fitting fucking lingerie in your pool. Like, performance art, it is not. Sorry, it's not performance art. It's not what it is. It's not what it is. And I'm never gonna believe that. Like I said in my last video, I'm never gonna believe that whole summer of really what looked like really scary psychosis is performance art. If that makes me a bad person, then whatever. I'm going to hell anyway.
Seriously, like there's like giggles, but like think about what I'm saying. Like, ha ha ha, this girl's having a mental breakdown. Help her, help me. I'm volunteering in Watts. Mm-hmm. I'm doing the food drives. I'm doing the clothing drives. I'm raising money for the people in wildfires. I'm the one packing lunches. Help me.
But here's the thing. You're not saying, here's ways you can help. You're screaming into your phone in your bathroom. That's not performance art, and it's not helping anyone because that message was not received. And it's not that your audience or any audience is too stupid to understand your performance art. It's that you're not doing performance art. You're doing a performance for the cause, correct? Your performance is that you're very charitable. These are the charities. Why aren't you helping? But what you're saying is nothing. You're screaming that there's babies dying on the street. Maybe you should work actual solutions into your performance art. Sorry, I just spit at you.
Mm-hmm. Help me, help us. I need your help. But nobody listens. They don't care.
We're listening to you scream into your mirror in your bathroom. You're not saying anything. Stating facts while you scream it is not performance art. We're all very much aware that there's babies dying on the street. Hell, we are all poor at this juncture, right? while your staff is paid and your bills are paid and you live in a beautiful house, the rest of us are suffering. The rest of us are dying in the street. One could argue your audience represents the babies dying in the street with the cost of inflation and medical expenses and housing and low wages. Are we not the babies dying in the street? Because how are we supposed to help you if we can't help ourselves? You want to talk about fucking performance art? Maybe tune your little tone deaf ears into what's actually happening in the world, and then maybe do some performance art about that. Maybe go into your new bathroom in your new nice house with your new staff where your new bills are paid and scream about that at 2 o'clock in the morning while you write in lipstick all over your mirror. Fuck off, Gabbie Hanna.
Hi, just to reiterate, thank you so much for coming.
This is awesome.
So my question, and it kind of comes from a personal place, I only go to marketing, and I just worry about authenticity, on the internet and online, and I was just wondering if you have any insights to share with us that, are there any real creators out there, are there any spaces for us to be more authentic, without selling out to corporations, such as steering
Is the question generally just about authenticity? Do I think people are authentic, and do I think people should be authentic, or?
Yeah, I guess so. So do you feel that you're still allowed to be yourself without the corporation, and you see others doing the same?
The word allowed is really interesting. Like, are you allowed to be yourself? Because yeah, anybody's allowed to be anything. We're in the Western countries, like most of us can do pretty much anything. It's mostly free, right? But like, who's judging and whose opinion do you matter? So like, is it the court of public opinion? Like, can you be yourself?
You just answer the fucking question, for Christ's sake. The answer is no. Gabbie has never been herself a day in her life. There, I answered it for you.
You can be yourself. Do you want the consequences of being yourself? So people, they want their like created artificial version of authenticity, because most people don't know what authentic is.
Yourself included.
Most people, when they see authenticity, say, help her, she needs help, call the mental institution. That's what people react to when they see authenticity.
No. Oh, honey.
Because when they see someone who's genuinely not afraid to be themselves and doesn't care what people are saying, they think that's crazy.
Honey, I don't think I've ever witnessed someone who cares more about what people have to say about them than you do. In both of these halves of this conversation, you have, albeit namelessly, brought up Rachel Oates and a book critique that she made years ago. You care so deeply about what people think that it cripples you. You change your persona every time you release something new. You have never been authentically yourself, at least on the internet. If that's screaming into the mirror for TikTok, performance art, if that's authentically you, you do need help. And I don't mean that in a condescending, derogatory way. I mean that in the way that is, you need help. Because you think you're doing something incredibly important, and the rest of us know that you're not. And it's not that we don't get it, and it's not that we missed it, and it's not that we're too stupid, and it's not that we don't want you to be who you are authentically. It's that you're not doing what you think you're doing. It's going to be a really long time before I make a Gabbie Hanna video again. Because of the amount of dishonesty about herself and everything that she is and has done on the internet is absolutely insane. This ability to rewrite history, to rewrite things that happened, to gaslight the people who were there, who saw it, who watched it, who commented on it, who had something to say about it. Wild, man.
But I do think it's important, and I do think that there are authentic creators. Again, I think there's other levels of authenticity that matter more than others. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think authenticity is important, and
important.
I think you should actually look out for it and ask yourself, like, who's the person telling me this, and am I just listening to what they say, or am I actually like connecting with their character?
That's great. I think that's a really great thing to end on, and thank you so much.
Thank you. This is awesome.
I've never wanted to buy someone a drink more than that nice British lady. Goddamn. Well, that was an exercise in frustration and futility. How are you holding up? Because I'm ready to throw this camera across the room. Okay, that's all I have the stomach for. The next video is going to be about Shane Dawson because he's slandering Chipotle now and I cannot handle that. Watch out for that one later, at a later time. Sometime before the end of the month, we'll see. Yeah, go have a drink and decompress. And if you don't drink, just go take a walk or something. Go, just lay on some hot concrete outside or something. Just something to feel something again. You can call it performance art if that makes you feel better about what you're doing. I'm gonna go. I have to go. I cannot anymore. Okay. Thanks for being here. Just stay tuned for the outtakes if there are any. It's probably just gonna be a lot of me going. So enjoy that. Thanks for being here. I love you so much. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
I am the fucking victim.
Hey, easy. Take it easy. I have a sweet farmer's tan going on right now, which I'm really proud of. There is an expiration date on this rung of paper. It expired 3 years ago. I probably shouldn't eat it. Sydney fell down. Why don't we have Taylor Swift throw her power behind abolishing the Electoral College? It's funny because I say this.